I'm Tamika D. Mallory.
And it's your boy, Mysonne, the General.
We are your host of TMI.
Tamika and Mysonne's information, truth, motivation, and inspiration.
New name, new energy, but
same old us.
What's going on, Mysonne Lennon?
I am feeling groovy today. Groovy. Shout out to Save the Brand. You know, my man Boom Boom. This is his sweater.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's y'all's new creations that y'all be making up over there.
Listen, man.
Are you instructing him at the Cultures Gallery?
Yes, the Cultures Gallery. That's our store in Westchester, 1857 Westchester Avenue. Please pull up.
Mm-hmm. And so at the store, are you guys encouraging Boom Boom and giving him design direction, or is he just pumping out what he...
Boom Boom is a master designer.
That's wonderful.
Now he has his new shades called the hater blockers. So you can come get you a pair of hater blockers. He has all types of shirts, shorts. He has whatever you need. Boom Boom is...
Does he make stuff for girls, for women?
He makes all the stuff.
No way. Bronx Logo never sent me a thing, so I don't believe you.
Boom Boom is the man.
So for people who are listening and watching, the Cultures Gallery is our friend Bronx Logo's store in the Bronx.
Yes.
And Boom Boom is his son, who is becoming quickly the most, the highest earning entrepreneur over there.
That's right.
His brand is popping.
He's the man. Boom Boom is, he keeps the lights open over there. I'm the silent partner. I just, do the stuff. But Boom
what
Boom
stuff do
is
you
design.
do? I would love to hear about the stuff you do.
Listen, we ain't going to talk about
No,
what
but I
do.
want to know what stuff
I'm just
you
the
do.
silent partner that does what he's supposed to do.
What does silent partners do? If for anybody who wants to be a silent partner, no, you didn't just put your hand over your mouth for silence. But I want to know, what do silent partners, what is the best?
If I tell you, then I'm not silent.
Okay, but so give us some advice. If we want to be a good silent partner, what would you do?
Invest.
Okay.
And then reap the benefits of the investment.
That's not being a good silent partner.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so then, and also promotion, because you do a lot of promotion.
Well, that's the non-silent part.
So are you a silent partner or not? Oh, please. Forget it, my son.
I'm just trying to tell you.
That's exactly how this relationship probably works, where he's not sure from day to day, are you silent or are you not?
No, I'm definitely a silent partner.
Okay. All right. So y'all keeping it going. But I appreciate that. Boom, boom. Shout out to you for your new designs. I've seen two
Shout out Mex,
things.
the other silent. We have some silent partners around here.
Mex.
Shout out Nelson. Like, it's people doing their thing.
Yeah.
We got a real business going on. And now, for real, the Cultures Gallery is a dope place. The atmosphere is dope. We're starting programs for kids in there. We're about to start doing our Raising Kings, one of our days there, where we teach the kids how to be entrepreneurs, how to use the machines, make their own brands and all of those things. Also teach them about emotional intelligence. We're creating something over there.
Yeah, no, I mean, to keep it going for all this time is certainly admirable. Shout out to Bronx Logo, because this is we should interview Bronx.
We got to bring Logo up here. That's right. We got
to interview him so he could tell his story about his life prior.
And he's a Bronx hero too. He just got his Bronx Hero Award.
He got his award, which I still need to post. And he is someone who he had already created what was that logo of the
Bronx logo?
The Bronx logo.
That's why I call him
so
Bronx
for
logo.
Folks, we have
his
to make
name
sure
is Jose
that
Martinez.
we put in the Bronx logo that he created before going to prison. And then he did a how many years stint?
He did 5 years.
5 years, came home, started figuring it out from nothing. He literally built it all from the dirt. That's a very true story. Some people say that and they don't mention that their parents lent them $10,000 or they had $5,000 in the mattress from before they don't mention. But he didn't have that. He really started with nothing, created and took his brand, just the Bronx logo, and started getting that out there. Then he went to the truck.
No, he went to the car first. First, he just brought some T-shirts, and he was selling the T-shirts.
Okay.
Then he got his car.
Was he pressing them up in his house still at that time?
No, he was paying somebody to press them up.
Okay, cool.
And then at that point, he got a car. And he was selling them out the car. Then he brought the machine. And then he started doing his own pressing. And then from the car and the machine, he went to the bus.
The bus.
The bus was a hit.
Yeah.
He ran around with the bus, sold things
selling
off the bus.
things off the bus.
And
right,
now
yeah.
it's brick and mortar.
Yes. And now there's an actual building. Yes. And I'm proud of him. And he has a job. So this is what I'm saying. He really needs to. We got to put Bronx Logo on the show.
Because these kids think... Kids don't understand. It's nothing wrong with having a job as you still be an entrepreneur and build your dream.
I remember somebody that we know very well told me dead to my face, y'all want me to have a job and I ain't trying to have no job because I don't need a job, but you need a job.
A job.
He said, well, I'm working on my other stuff, but you still need a job. Jobs are important until you can get to the next stage. Now, of course, you don't want to become complacent. So you have to have the energy that I refuse to let this job be my final stop because that does, and I get it. And
it's around scheduling too, right? It's making sure that you have a job that doesn't limit you from chasing whatever it is that you're trying. If you're an entrepreneur, you know you have dreams of doing things. You get you a night job, right? You get you a job, or you get you a part, whatever it is.
Or 7 to 3.
Yes, but you got to make sure that your financial things are taken care of. You got to make sure that the bills is paid.
That's right.
You need a phone. You need a place to live. You need some food, like those things, and that's what your job should be for. And you should be able to pay your bills, and then whatever you do outside of that is everything else.
Yeah, that's facts. So I agree 1,000%. I have had a job my whole life in addition to my entrepreneurial activities. And yeah, sure, there's been times, because people say balance, and I hear what you're saying. I think that's important. Those are the skills that if I knew at the time, I may have structured my life a little bit differently, where I would go to work from 7 to 3. My problem was I wouldn't get up early enough to be out by 3 o'clock. I'm rolling into the office at 10:15. So by the time you get there at 10:15, you got to stay till 6 o'clock, 6:15 in order to fulfill a full day's work. Mm-hmm. But people who have that early bird gets the word, or the late night shift, and then you work on whatever your passion is, that's a really smart strategy. But the idea that a part of or building your business means depending on other people to bail you out, or just going broke, struggling by yourself,
especially in this economy, it's not a good. It's any economy. And I can speak to this because I had this mentality at one point. I was just never gonna work, and it's a struggle, right? And if you don't have somebody to invest in what you're doing, or you haven't built a name or a brand or something, you have to figure out how to get financially stable. And so I had to figure that out. You have to say, damn, bills still got to get paid. I don't care how long I'm working on my dream and I want to do these. Bills still got to get paid. I got to figure out how do I make enough money to sustain
yourself.
So a lot of kids don't get into that I'm not working thing, man, because everything is a job, and bills are going to come every month.
Yeah, they do. They come every month. I agree with you. I mean, bills come every month. You can't let that get into your mindset. You do have to be strong enough to stick to your passion, because you can easily become complacent and just be like, oh, well, the dream is not working, so I'm just going to stick with the job. But sometimes you find out that maybe you are meant to have a job because you might not have the skill set to run a business. A lot of people think running a business or running an organization, it's people that do not understand the work that goes into running an organization. I spent a large part of my morning today, Linda and me, on the phone with our financial advisors and our accountants and, all the folks that handle our financial business, having a 2-hour conversation while I was at the doctor's office, which brings me in a minute to my thought of the day. But I was literally in the doctor's office with the thing in my ear, listening to the back and forth about how our resources are being spent, where new money is coming from, looking at all the different line items. Like, this is really serious. So I just say all of that to say to people that we have to be, you gotta, especially as young people, you gotta have a both and strategy. And a lot of times going to work on a job and learning that discipline of being at work at a certain time, having to fill out or submit reports, having assignments, and knowing how to conduct yourself in a professional space, that's important, because part of the reason why so many people get into business and they're not doing well from a customer service perspective, they're not managing their stock and all of the products and services properly, is because they have had no training. They woke up one day and now they got a lip gloss or a do-rag or a restaurant, and they've not taken the time to work with anybody else who's been able to teach them those skills. Yes, you can go to college and courses and, trade schools and all of that and get some of it, but it is nothing like working in a space where every single day you are learning the skill set. Because guess what happens? You can sit around and read a book all day long, but when that thing hits you and an angle wasn't in the book, you be trying to figure out, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? Right. And you do need good mentors to help teach you that. And the best way is to watch it while not having the responsibility of fixing the problem on your own.
That's right.
So that's my suggestion. But, there'll be somebody in the comments who's like, oh, no, you're encouraging people to go get a job instead of focusing on building for self. Yeah, okay, well, I mean, if you have the,
listen to what I'm saying.
Teach me.
Most people do not have the luxury of someone that funds your dream, right? So if you don't have somebody funding your dream and you're a grown man and you got kids and all that, you realize every day that those bills they don't disappear because you chasing this dream.
That's right.
So that's something that you have to learn. And a lot of people don't think that. They think they listen to the stories and they watch,
how they put person put their lip gloss online and it popped.
And they don't see that, they don't understand that it's been a long process. Like a lot of artists that people be seeing, he did. Once in a while, there's some that go overnight, but there's artists that I see now that I was like, and they tell you, I was doing this 7-8 years ago, and I was doing this, right. Like the grind that I had to build to do certain things. It was a long process, and people just this overnight,
and we still grinding,
every day, and we just building just to build your brand takes time, And so I employ everyone to get employed.
That was a good one. Get employed. Be employed. Speaking of my thought of the day, women's health, boy, I had an experience that really helps me to understand why so many people are not getting the care that they need for certain illnesses, and just like your checkups and keeping and making sure that you are monitoring your whole body from head to toe, so that if something comes up, you have the ability to get in front of an issue rather than to be behind, right? I see it. And it happened to me because, so I got a mammogram this week. And for anybody who does not know what a mammogram is, it is when you get your breast checked for breast cancer, any tumors or any issues that may be happening in your breast, your lymph nodes, so under your arm. They give you a full scan, and it is uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, but very necessary, because predetermination of any issue is better, again, than finding out later. So when I first asked for the appointment, I got back all the documentation. The first thing, before they sent the documentation, they sent through the MyChart system a bill for $50, which is cool. Copay, I know, $50. I'm used to paying that. But then a few days later, they sent me a bunch of documents that need to be signed. If you sign those documents before you get to the facility, it makes your time in the waiting area reception shorter. So no problem. That's a new thing that I actually like. And okay, let me stick with my point, because I was getting ready to go off into something else. But embedded in this message wasn't just the documents. It was another $200 that I had to pay.
These people, listen.
Nah, like seriously, that's crazy to me.
It should be.
And we have great insurance at Until Freedom. I mean, it's expensive, but nonetheless, we have good insurance. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, what the heck? So now I'm clicking stuff and I open up the bill to see exactly one thing they do give you. Now, back in the days, you did not know the specifics of the bill. All right. You had to get the carbon copy at the facility and try to look it up and read all of these weird words. They don't do that no more. Online in the My Chart system, it clearly said the appointment is $1,500. They're covering 13 and something, and then you got your copay, and they added all this stuff up, and it came to a little more than what the insurance was paying, which was $250. Matter of fact, that's not a little more. That's a whole lot more. And I'm thinking to myself, if I'm somebody who, again, especially in this economy, but just in general, I'm already struggling, I'm making ends meet. This $200 is the difference between me making my rent payment or my groceries or daycare or even my enjoyment, whatever it is that I want to do with my life. Ain't nothing wrong with my breasts. They're not hurting me. They're not feeling any kind of way, because we get a lot of ignorant things in our minds. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just rub around myself the way that they teach you, because they do teach you at the gynecologist's office that if you need to be checking, don't wait for the next year. Just make sure if you feel anything sore, if you feel any lumps, you need to say something. So imagine somebody that knows those things that's going to be like, I'm not paying $200 more after you already paid $50. That's $250 that I paid to go get checked for something that this country should be giving you for free, because we should be making sure that people do not have breast cancer and other sicknesses, because that's what weighs on our medical system. Duh.
It's true.
It's just, once I saw that, I just started to, and I know there are all these programs that give mammograms to folks for free once a year, maybe even twice a year. They have all these facilities that you can go to and programs. But it begs the question in this country. And this is not a Democrat versus Republican or this person versus that person. This is just for us as a nation. What in the hell are we doing when a woman has to spend $250 to go get something that should just be a basic right, that we just want to make sure your breasts are good? Because if you get cancer there, right, and understanding that Black women are number one. We're number one in every damn thing that is harming and killing people, right? We're number one, killing women. So I would just think that that we would want that to be a service, knowing that breast cancer is something, it gets in your body and it can spread, and it really kills so many women, like so many people. Why the hell are people paying $250 to get their breasts checked?
It is a microcosm of what's wrong with America right now, right? When we look at just the political stance and we look at just how everything, and what we should be focusing on is health, right? Like, that should be the main thing. It's no way that people should have to pay to be healthy. There's no way people should have to pay to be educated, right? And America is supposed to be this great place, and we have people here that tell us that shouldn't be a luxury.
Right.
Outside of America, people have free health care.
Yeah, some of them, some places.
Some places, I'm not saying everywhere, but there are places in the world where people have free health care and they have free education. And those should be things that, if we one of the greatest nations in the world, why would we not want to make sure that everyone is healthy and everyone is educated?
Right. And the facilities that they have in other nations where there is free healthcare, the places are not shitholes.
No.
Where when you go there, people talking to you crazy, and the place is half dirty, and it's unkept. I just don't know. America just needs a whole reset, because I didn't pay $250 last year. So I don't know, and I don't want to speculate because I haven't had time to do some research on why this is now a cost. I paid $50 copay last year. Now I'm up to $250. I need somebody to explain to me, but what I was going to say in addition is that one thing about my chart that I appreciate this time is that I was able to read all of those consent forms that when you are sitting in the doctor's office and you got to hurry up because you're trying to go with your appointment, you already know if you say no to half of that stuff, then you probably can't get the appointment. So you're just saying yes, 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 and yes. But because I was taking the time while getting my little pedicure to read every single form, there was things in there that asked whether I would be willing to be a part of experiments and research. And you get nothing for it, which is crazy, right? They tell you that you are not expected to receive anything for being a part of this experiment, which means that they are now about to send my images from my breast and whatever they find to all these different people for research and study. And I don't benefit if they find something that helps them to go along with whatever they're doing. Whatever it is that they're doing, right? So no, damn it, no, hell to the no, no. If I pass away, yes, I will allow them to use certain things for research. But no, why would I do that? Then there was another form in there that said, do I give the consent to all of these different people to have access to my records? It was like 30 damn things. This facility, this people, all of these acronyms. And I said, no, I don't give consent to all of these people. And they have different things that you can answer. One said no. No, the first one said yes, which means all these people get to see my boobs. Then the next thing, or access to the records about my health, right? Then the next thing said, and by the way, it didn't just say for the mammogram. It said your health records. So maybe they meant for the mammogram, but that's not what it said because I went back and read it. It's very, very, you got to read the stuff. You got to read it. Because I said, well, where's the word that said if I want to give consent, where's the word that says for the mammogram? It did not say that. It said for the health records. So one said yes. The next one said no, except in a medical emergency. And then it went on with a couple other options. So I chose no, except in a medical emergency, because I want to imagine if I have an emergency, something is wrong with me, they don't got to go call Tariq or some person to find them to get it to such and such. Just go and do what you need to do. But I don't even know how they're identifying a medical emergency. I really don't know.
Exactly. And it's so open-ended that they can decide. It's just like everything else in America. Everything is open-ended. There's no more checks and balances. There's no due process. It ain't no step 1, 2, 3. This is how we identify it. If we decide that it's a medical emergency, we're going to go and use this.
Exactly. Nah, I don't like it. So anyway, I think I did better, but it also comes with age. So I think that one of the things we have to teach our kids, if when my granddaughter gets to be a little bit older, and as time goes on, I want to encourage her parents, as well as all of my friends and people who have small kids, show them what you're signing on their behalf. Read it to them. What is this? Oh, we're signing this document for school. Don't just sign, because that's what we do. Come on, I've done that. I've just signed. But let's take the time to actually figure out and teach a kid that you don't put your signature on something until you have an opportunity to review it, scan it at least, and try to get the basics. So that's what I have to say. But just to go back to my thought of the day, right? My thought of the day today is I don't know if people really do care about cutting costs and reducing the amount of pressure that's on our systems the way that they say they do, right? Because if we cared so much about that in the medical world, why would we not be giving people free prostate exams, free breast mammograms, and things of that nature, free cancer screening? We should be giving that away as a nation for free, because that is the only way to try to prevent the system from collapsing, is preventative care. And mean, but we don't do that.
Because the pharmaceutical company does not benefit from that.
So you need to have full-blown cancer? Are you serious?
Because the pharmaceutical company wants to be able to benefit. They want to sell you medicine that's not going to work anyway. They want to get rich.
Well, not all medicine doesn't work. Please don't say that.
I didn't say all medicine.
Okay,
I'm saying for the most part, if you look at the cancer rate, the medicine that they're giving you for cancer is not curing cancer. It's not stopping cancer.
It's not curing it, but it certainly does help some people.
I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying for the most part, the ratio of people that die from cancer is way higher than
the people
the
who are taking the medication. I don't know.
And they still,
we should check that because I don't know.
My mother passed away from cancer, right? And the amount of money that I was spending for her medication was unreal. It was unreal. Like it didn't even make sense.
I remember you complaining that towards the end.
It just didn't even make sense. It was like $400 this, $500 this. Sometimes it was $900. It's like I didn't even understand, and it wasn't making her any better. It was just like I didn't understand none of it. You know, the hospital bills. Like I'm just trying to say, they running a racket. They know what they're doing. Yeah. They are running a racket.
Wow. Okay. I mean, it makes me very sad, and I really am offended that people have to start organizations and start groups and clubs and volunteer operations to do something that our tax dollars should be paying for.
I mean, what else is it paying for?
So, moving on for the TMI today, people be doing too much. But some people might feel like it's not doing too much. So, we want to hear from you. Is it too much or maybe not even enough? So Ari Fletcher posted a video where she was talking about folks who have found out which gym she uses to work out. And people are showing up to the gym wanting to show her stuff about their business or wanting to take a picture. Oh, girl, I saw you was at the gym and I ran down here, which I thought that one was massive creepy. But I ran down here so I could show you this or talk to you or tell you about whatever. I personally think that is absolutely out of line, and I think it's going too far. But there are other people who will say, and hear me, there are other people who will say, you have to use every opportunity to get that thing, right? So there's somebody out there who will run to the restaurant that they know that Tyler Perry or Denzel go to every month, and they're going to walk in the door, and if they can sing, they about to blow their lungs down or act in the middle of the restaurant. And if they get the part because Tyler or Denzel or somebody like that is like, or 50 Cent is like, oh man, okay, you're really talented, then it's something that we might praise, like, man, they did everything possible to get to the person. But going to try to take a picture, I don't know, it's still, especially for a woman, it's super creepy. So I wouldn't do it, and I don't want anyone to do it to me. But some people might actually celebrate it and say, hey, you going for, your dream.
And I think that's what it is, right? It's individuals, right? Ari has let you know that she don't want it. She ain't with it at all. You went down there, you tried, and it ain't work. And she telling you it ain't gonna work at all, because this is where she said this is her private space. She come to work out. She there with who she with. She don't want your business. She don't want your card. She don't want to know about your lashes. She ain't into it. So you're gonna be wasting your time going down there with Ari. Now there are certain artists that you might see someplace, and you might create a moment that might catapult your career. They might become, business, part of your business for the rest of your life. And some people just ain't with it. And there are artists who are with it. You might run into Denzel and you might be able to do your best impersonation, and he might be like, okay, clap, and he might give you a recommend. I mean, there are people they love that. They see
I don't know if people love it, Mice.
But there are, listen to me. If a certain, as an artist, right? If a dude could rap really good and he comes up to me and he spits, I'll be like, oh, I will call somebody and be like, nah, you got to call producers, anything. I know DJs, yo, listen, this dude right here, he's somebody. It depends.
Yeah, but
right?
you would never want somebody to say that I know you get your food from the church across the street or the seafood spot down the block.
I mean, everything depends, right? It's just, it's just like the girl who flirts with you or the guy who flirts with you. You don't want to be flirted. If you're attracted to a guy and he comes up to you, And he says,
yeah, but you can't come find me where I work out and stuff. That makes me feel like you might be a danger.
If you seen a guy and he didn't tell you he pulled up, and you looked at him, you looked at you, and then later on you found out that he pulled up because he knew you worked out there and he was attracted to you, and you was attracted to him, you wouldn't feel that way. But if it was a creepy looking dude and you see him come to you, like, this dude is a stalker. So that's what I'm trying to say. It all depends on the circumstances and the individual with certain people. There's some people, they just don't give a fuck. Ari sounds like she is not interested in anybody that's outside of her immediate circle trying to communicate with her and build any kind of business. From the gym.
She didn't say she wasn't willing to have conversations.
I'm talking about in that setting. Atmosphere and in that setting. She's not with it. So you have to respect that. But I'm saying there are certain people that see it as, damn, this person is ambitious. You did all of that to come to you. Okay, let me see. You got to have some. There are certain people.
I need you to figure it out. Even if you're a guy that I'm attracted to, I still don't want you coming to first of all, don't come to the gym when I'm funky and stank anyway to come try to have conversation with me. But beyond that, I still don't feel comfortable with any person, especially a man, tracking me down, and I didn't know, like, we didn't meet here. You just happened to see me online working out, or I'm, which you shouldn't be taking videos. You shouldn't be really taking videos while you're at a place anyway. But let's just say I decide I want to pop on my live while I'm sitting here in this studio and somebody knows where it is, and then they just come over here like, oh, I just wanted to come, because you could also be coming for a different reason. And so I don't know. I think, yes, I'm all for ambition. I'm all for going for what you want. But I don't want you to make me feel uncomfortable and nervous, or like I need to be ready to defend myself.
Yeah, but I'm saying she didn't even say it's about her feeling uncomfortable. She just basically said, I'm not with it at the gym. I don't give a fuck how somebody just want to hand you a car, or I know you come here. She don't want none of it. And you just got to respect the people that don't want it at all.
Okay, it's an individual thing.
It is an individual.
Because you might get your shot.
You might get your shot. There's a lot of people who got their shot like that.
Okay. Well, this now opens the floor to all of you who I'm sure have something to say about this. Is it doing too much? Or is it okay? Or is it maybe even not enough?
We'll see. So we're going to go into this interview that we already pre-recorded, and we're going to give y'all two dope individuals.
Certainly. So today we are quite honored.
It is definitely an honor.
Two individuals with us who are esteemed, prestigious, award-winning folks, a couple. And I love that. I love to see people partnered in families that's also doing business together. And so quite excited to introduce to our audience Fox and Rob Rich. And both of these two beautiful Black New Orleans, I guess, I'm sure they'll correct me, because people from New Orleans, you got to say it right. New Orleans. They are the subject of an Oscar-nominated documentary that was released in 2020 called Time. And now there is a sequel, a follow-up to the first documentary that is called Time 2, Unfinished Business. And this family has been through a lot. We're going to learn about a man sentenced to 61 years in prison after this family found their backs up against the wall, the way so many of us have been in difficult situations. And then he had a wife who never gave up and fought for him, and he was released early. And instead of them being mad with their lips poked out about who did what to them, they've taken accountability and said our responsibility now is to free more folks and to ensure that other stories are told. And so I am honored and quite humbled for the opportunity to interview and talk with and become friends, because us with our friends on the TMI podcast. Listen,
they're already my friends, because I've been talking about getting some good old New Orleans food, so they're about to cook for me. So they friends before we even did the interview. So that's behind the scenes.
So Fox and Rob, welcome to the TMI show. We appreciate y'all so much. And it just feels like, ooh, it's powerful. You know, it's powerful. We watched the film and was moved. I had a few tears. This is a powerful story. So, let's start with the lady, because you seem to be a very, very outgoing and outspoken part of this duo, to tell us what happened to you all. How did you find yourselves in the 61-year situation? And then we'll kind of go from there.
Well, Miss Tamika D. Mallory, it takes one to know one, because just over the years, every time I have seen your image or your name, I've just been a cheerleader in the background saying, yes, sis, so thankful for you using your voice and being convicted for the rights of our community at such an early age. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for having us on TMI, Rob. And I don't take that lightly, but I'm going to actually pass it to the gentleman and come introduce us on how did all this happen, Rob?
It's your fault. All right, so I guess it would probably be important to note that, for your listening audience that's basically encountering us for the very first time, collectively we are Fox and Rob Rich. We're a formerly incarcerated couple who spent more than 21 years behind bars before receiving clemency in 2018. And I would have to venture to say that probably one of the biggest takeaways that we have from our family's experience through Louisiana's incarceration system is that to be free is to free other people. That being said, once I came home, Fox and I started a nonprofit with its first initiative as PDM NOLA, which is a Participatory Defense Movement NOLA, where we teach legal awareness as the best form of defense to people that are justice involved. We judge the success of that work by the amount of time that we save someone, opposed to the amount of time that the person has been sanctioned to serve. And to date, as an organization here locally, we have saved nearly 4,000 years of people doing time here in the state of Louisiana, and countrywide through our 40 organizations, we have saved nearly 40,000 years of people doing time from behind bars. And I'm gonna pause for effect on that one there, because I think that's a hand clap kind of moment.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's what's up.
And probably the other piece of that would be is Fox and I also met as high school sweethearts through a mutual friend of ours. And in that situation, it turned out that Fox's friend, our mutual friend, actually misrepresented the relationship between the two of us, and had Fox under the impression that she and I had something far more deeper going than we actually had with one another. So when I called Fox later on that night trying to get my Mac on, she checked me at the door, was like, what you hollering at me for? Aren't you Wanda's friend? And I'm like, no, where did you get that from? And she was like, well, Wanda herself. I said, we need to call Wanda. So I don't know if your viewers are old enough to know back when they had Star 69. So I'm just trying to take care of business up front. So I'm like, why don't we go ahead and Star 69 Wanda? And then that way we can get at least that part out of the way. And so we called Wanda that night and hit her up on three-way. And she started the small talk. And after she realized that I was on the phone as well, she decided to hang up. That was the moment. That was at least a turning moment right there. Exactly. I think when Fox, when she fell in love with me, probably for the first time. I'll give way to her on that moment to kind of let y'all know how she was feeling in that moment when she saw her brother take control like that.
We celebrate this week, we'll celebrate 28 years of marriage and 38 years of being together. And so I think that sometimes when we have conversations, people look at the worst thing that we have done and really want to delve into our greatest loss, if you would. But Rob and I, we like to start off with what is our greatest victory. Yes. And greatest victory is our love that we've been able to sustain even in our lowest points in life. The love of each other and the love of our family, which includes 6 sons. So I'll probably just drop that aspect of it in right there, Tamika.
Okay.
So successful.
But as high school sweethearts, we started a venture to start a business of our own in 1997. We eloped and got married in in April of 1997 after an invitation to ask Fox's hand in marriage, to which she conceded. Wanted to know how soon was I talking about getting married, and I told her I'd be willing to bail out tonight if we could and go take care of that, and we can at least get this marriage thing going. And she was shocked and all, but she responded back the way a Leo lion does, and she hooked up a getaway for us to go to Kissimmee, St. Cloud, Florida, to a small little wedding chapel where we got married there. And then we later that night at what was then called Pleasure Island, we consummated our marriage by bungee jumping. Bungee jump for us was a jump that was into or past all of the negative things that we had run up against in the 10-year on again, off again portion of our relationship before exchanging nuptials that earlier that day with one another. But in that moment, it was a triumphant moment for us when we soared out over the city of Orlando. And knowing that we were now taking our lives in our own hands, and we were going to make something doing. I've always had a childhood dream of opening up my own hip hop clothing store, and Fox shared in my dream. And so we, as our first business, once we came back home from our elopement, we came back home and started our family's first business, which was Culture, a hip hop clothing store. Got all excited about the fact that we had just got married. We just bought a home together. And now here we were starting a business together. Went out to Vegas to all of the big fashion shows and all that stuff. Had ordered a gang of clothes, got back only to realize that our investor pulled out on us. And in addition to that, as they say in this day and time, that life be lifing. Well, life lifed in such a way back then in our little young minds, where our third oldest son took sick with something that doctors could not diagnose in the moment. And I guess I pulled off a John Q in the moment as I sought to regain financial solvency for our family for the loss of our investor on our business. As they say, desperate people do desperate things. And I took desperate measures the day that I walked into a bank, brandished a firearm, and demanded cash. That therein, I guess, began the story of Fox and Rob as most people know it.
Wow, and you know, the reality of the situation is people coming from our communities can really identify with that reality. You know, it might not have been your business, but a lot of us have done things where we felt our back was against the wall, you know, and when I listen to it and I hear you people are good people, you know, that just found yourself in a situation that made you react and say, I can't let my family just go. I have to figure something out. And, you know, and you were ultimately sentenced to 61 years in prison.
Yes, 61 years, yes.
And
the crazy part, you guys would have to even get the backstory as to how it even became a 61-year sentence. We were facing 0 to 5 to 99 years for the armed robbery itself. And because there were 2 counts, we were facing armed robbery 5 to 99 times 2. And in the process of our trial processes, we ultimately ended up committing a jury tampering charge along the way, which picked us up yet another 5 to 99 year sentence. Hence, we were facing 297 years. And subsequently, after going to trial, blowing trial, and then finally reaching the point of sanctions, the district attorney made a recommendation to the judge because he wanted to leave a mark. Much in the same way that they used to do slaves back in the day when they brand you and hit you with something that you'll never forget. The DA hit me with something that I would never forget because he reminded the court that it was 1938 that the last time a jury tampering happened in the parish in which I was convicted. And it was 1999 during that year. So he wanted to sentence me to 61 years, which is the amount of time that it had been since the last jury tampering had happened in their little small town. And he wanted me to stay with that for a while, sit with it for a while. So that's ultimately how I was sentenced to 61 years.
So he was clever in the way he did what he did.
He knew what he was doing.
Wow.
And I know these things. They want to make an example. You know, they want you to feel these things, and then they also want everyone looking to see. It's like the lynching in front of the people or the whipping in front of the slaves, so they know not to get out of line. You know, so ultimately you were sentenced to 61 years. And how much time did you do, Fox?
Took a plea deal for 2 7-year sentences and one 5-year sentence to be run together. So after giving birth to my twin boys, I went and committed myself to the Department of Corrections and served out 3.5 years, and then did 3.5 years on parole.
So did y'all get the money from the bank?
I'm not outside the bank.
We held it for a little while. We didn't get to spend it.
You didn't get to wow, my. You know, I'm just listening and thinking that I know there are people in our community who are the purest of the pure. They're the most morally sound, do everything right folks ever. So no matter what you tell them folks robbed the bank. I don't have nothing to say to them. You know, we don't support them at all. But of course, there are more of us who understand that sometimes we just make bad decisions. That's it. It's not, you know, you don't want to argue about who and what. And we can just say, it was a bad decision and I had to do the time to pay for that. But it doesn't mean that I should be committed to a life sentence of conviction and rebuke just because of this thing that happened. It seems like we get it, but there's some folks out here that just don't. What is the response that you receive from most people when you are, you know, out in the world with your films, when maybe you're talking, doing panels? Do you find that there are people who just feel like y'all should just forever be on the fringes and you just wrong for the rest of your lives, or not?
I would have to say that, yes, you do get that group of people that are out there, but they make up a minority group of the people that we have encountered. We have had far more people on our side than we've had against us. And I think that is reflective in the numbers. When you look at the numbers, when you look at the numbers, 1 in 3 of us have a felon in America, have a felony conviction. That's not us. When I say that's not black people, that's not black men. That is all people, whites, Asians, you know, everybody that's here included. That 1 in 3 of us have a felony conviction, and 1 in 2 of us have a family member that is incarcerated. And then you ask yourself, well, then what does that look like? Do the math for me, Rob. What that looks like is our current president is a felon and was convicted of several crimes. Our outgoing president is the father of a felon. His son committed the act of felon with a firearm. In our community, people are immediately sentenced to an additional 5 years just for the feds for being a former incarcerated person or a felon with a firearm. But yet we saw how both in those situations were able to skirt justice, but not necessarily able to skirt the branding or the marking of the fact that you too now know incarceration because you or your family has been impacted from it. So incarceration is not necessarily a black thing anymore. It's not necessarily a poor thing anymore. It is a human thing because humans are prone to be and do human stuff. We err, you know.
And for me, I would like to add that it is about the art. When you talk about making a film, I have seen the impact of what art can do in changing the hearts and minds of men and women. I would be honest with you all on the TMI that the first time I ever saw a white male weep was at Sundance when we did the premiere of the first film Time. And it happened on more than one occasion in Utah at Sundance, where during this screening, they were so overwhelmed that they came up to me to share how much impact the film had had on them. And so knowing that art is activism, and that is how we can really use it as a tool to change the heart of man, so that we can begin to change man's mind. And in changing mankind's mind, we can change mankind's policies. And that is the reason why we decided that even after Time 1 had been so well received, it was such a wonderful project in its own right, me in particular, found a need to make sure that I could tell the second part of our story. One, because in the first time, I think our community needs to know, how did we gain freedom for our family? as it's like being in the criminal justice system. It's like being in a corn maze during Halloween, and you never know when or how to get out. And it is intentionally designed that way. And so I wanted to make the sequel to this documentary so that I can help show families what we were able to do to get out. Because if it's possible for me and my family who had been condemned to die at Angola, then it is also possible for you and your family and countless others, 2.3 million other families that find themselves trapped in one shape, form, or another in this judicial system. And so being able to bring forth this story and use artist activism to change mankind's heart and continue to push the message. The second reason I found it important to share this story was because I wanted folks to see what we actually did with freedom. What did we do with the freedom that we had been given when my husband returned?
Good God.
And, yeah.
Woo, Fox,
You
you
sure
a
you ain't
bad woman,
preaching? You
Fox.
out here preaching. This is ministry
Fox,
right here.
you need TV shows
Yes, man.
and yeah, we need to put you on the platform.
Yeah,
You need to be
big
on the
screen.
program,
She gotta
sis.
be
You
on
out
the
here
big screen.
talking right now. What to do with freedom once you get free? Woo!
That's
And what we did with freedom is that we used it to free other people. 6 months after Rob came home, we had gotten clemency for him. We took on the matter of freeing the longest serving woman in our country, Gloria Dean Williams, who by the time we got her released through clemency had served 52 years in prison, and she wasn't even the most culpable in her situation. And if that wasn't enough, we changed policy in Louisiana that Rob had been studying law and working on since 2005. We thought that policy change would help 400 to 600 men and women locked up in our system in Louisiana, which is the highest incarcerator in the world per capita, the state of Louisiana. And when the policy actually got changed, we discovered, family, that over 3,000 families who thought they were going to die in prison because they had 30 years or more of a sentence, but not life, are now given an opportunity to go up for parole and have a chance to return home to their families. So we understand that it is our duty to fight for our freedom, and it is our duty to win. Thank you so much for letting me share this story.
Ooh, that's beautiful. Let me cool down because the mic on fire. You done set the mic on fire real quick. But what made you decide that you wanted to chronicleize this? What made you decide that I'm going to chronicleize this and turn this into this film?
Well, for me, when it was resistance. Purest form. When Rob and I got married, we had 3 children between us. We had dated 10 years off and on. I had come from a family where marriage was not an institution of practice in my particular home. Rob had come from a home that marriage was a practice. And so for us, when we united in holy matrimony, it was like we broke all of the chains and all of the dysfunction. And even though we had made mistakes, here we were determined to fix it and get it right. And so it was so important to me. I started documenting. I wanted to share this moment with my family and with others that we had actually done it. I was so happy. We married, right? We finally got it right.
Now. He's married now.
He's married now. Time, the movie. It's on Amazon Prime Video for your viewers that may want to check it out. It opens up and it says, we're the richest. Now, what do you think about that? But it is about building that brand, that family brand together that we can go out into the world and elevate and expand. And so I started filming for that purpose. And then shortly after that, we found ourselves in the criminal justice system. To a choice of our own making. And so it was nothing more disheartening to me than to begin to fully understand what it meant to be free the moment that I had checked not only myself, but my husband and I had subjected our entire family back into slavery. And so having understood that, I wanted to, at that point, document this. And even though the judge had sentenced him to 60 years, my goal was to make sure that if he couldn't be in space with us, then I would document space and time. And whenever he came home, because every year for 21 years, we believed that this would be the year. This is gonna be the one right here. Not this Christmas, we're gonna be together as a family. And how many families every year are having that same thought that they are sharing with within their family, that hoping that this is gonna be the year. And so I would keep filming and encouraging my children because I wanted to share it with him when he came home. But by the time we had been in the system for 10 years for what we had done, and everybody that I spoke to about the excessive sentence that my family had received thought it was god awful shame, but absolutely nobody lifted a hand to point me in the right direction or help me. Then I began to document because I knew I had a duty and an obligation to tell this story. And as I open up time too, the trailer opens up and it says, if it wouldn't have happened to us, we never would have believed it. Sometimes God got to make us witness bearers, because I was that 2-time college graduate with my master's degree. And I thought that everybody that got in trouble with the law, they got exactly what they deserved. I went in the voting booth, home from college, and I voted for 3-time felons to be multi-bill. I voted for the 85% law. If you do a violent crime, then you need to serve 85% of your time. I voted for the Clinton crime bill that said we would charge children as adults when they're 17 years old. I voted for all of that. And then I entered the system. And then I understood how harmful my voting was and continues to be. Here we are 30 years later into this system and are still being impacted by the Clinton crime bill, even though the funding for it is all gone and all of the apologies have been spread across the ethers, but ain't nobody came back to fix the harm they caused and undo or repeal the Clinton crime bill.
Yes, yeah. Woo. So, Rob, you got a powerful wife. That's a lot of woman right there sitting next to you. I can imagine it's just like, go ahead, baby, do your thing. What has life been like? I mean, 21 years. Like, I know people who have been incarcerated who have challenges with too much stimulation. My son, he needs to get to himself sometimes and just sit and not have everybody constantly talking to him or have to engage in a million conversations. And everybody's like, what's wrong with my son? And he's just like, sometimes I just need a break. And there's a difference between people who need that break simply because they just can't be overstimulated, and someone who had to use that as a mechanism to get through 7 years of incarceration. And we have our other sister, Jamila T. Davis. I notice it in her sometimes, things that she does. And I just wonder for you, what has been the lasting effects of doing all of those years, and is a part of your programming and what you do, helping folks to break those chains as well after they are come out of incarceration?
Yeah, I know some of the things are things that you can you can repair, upon release. But when you consider the fact, one, that when I went into prison 2 years on the other side of Windows 95. By the time I had come home, MySpace was a thing and was no longer a thing by the time I had come home. So you can imagine the technological advances that had happened, at that space and time. When I left home, people, you only had a handful of people that had a cell phone. They were basically street chemists and, doctors and lawyers. Separate and apart from them, that was pretty much it. And phones were just for the purpose of making phone calls. By the time I had come home, people couldn't even live without their phones. Their lives were connected to that little, this little gadget. When I left home from prison the first time, left home to prison the first time, people were wearing baggy clothes and those kind of things. When I came home, practically everybody was naked. Yes, it was overstimulating. It was overstimulating because I could look, but then they say you ain't supposed to look too long, or look and don't say nothing. And I'm like, what we doing? Just so many different things were different, but it reminded me so much of people that had gone through slavery and were told that they could not read, that they were told that they could not learn how to write, that they were told that they needed to stay illiterate because as long as you're illiterate, then I can control you. Well, much of the same happens that when you move into a technologically advanced world like the one we live in today, or like the one that I entered when I got out of prison in 2018, I'm no different than those people. So it's like I went from slavery to sharecropping. You feel what I'm saying? And I've been going through that same process over and over again. Yes, but some of the things that are the remnants or the lasting effects from incarceration, you can repair. You know, you can become educated, you can become tech savvy, you can become a lot of those things and kind of make up for lost time when it comes to those kind of things. But there are some things that stick with you and they stay with you forever.
Yeah.
My post-traumatic stress is real. It's as real as a person that went off the war because I've been in war. Some people, you know, when you say that to them, it's like, well, why would you make that comparison that you've been in war? And I'm like, come on, dummy, what are you not understanding? It's me versus the state of Louisiana. It's my brother versus whatever state or federal or jurisdiction that he or she was up against. So they made it a war. They made them versus me. So this is not me just making up something, but, you know, same situation is that you go through this experience of living in a violent state for 2 decades, you know, two decades, a year and 4 days. With that being said, you can't live in an environment like that for that longer period of time and not and come out unscathed. So I'm no different. You know, I came out, but I've just been learning how to manage and work past it. It was probably when I gave my first interview when once I got home, the first interview, national interview that we gave when we were out promoting the first film was with CBS Mornings and Jerika Duncan, a person who I've been, you know, watching through the TV, you know, for the last seemed like 15, 20 years or so. Now here it is that I'm now being in a situation where this person who I've admired her journalistic style and contributions and all those things, and now this woman is actually interviewing me. You know, Gayle King is knowing my name, or she is knowing at least my family story. And in that moment, you know, once the interview came to a close, I started noticing that I started sweating and my pulse went up and my heart rate went up and I started shaking and I couldn't figure out like what was happening or what was wrong with me. And it was like, you know, Fox kind of, you know, calmed me down and got me back. She was like, nigga, breathe. You know? And just kind of easing me back through it or whatever. She's like,
he was like, I think I need to go to the hospital. I was like, nigga, damn, prove it first. I'm a mama of 6. You got to show me you really sick.
That's right. Right.
Go to the hospital.
That's right.
And by the way, we've been through enough. Get your ass together.
Right.
No, that's
right. You ain't been home long enough to be sick.
You ain't gonna die. If you die on me, I'm gonna kill you anyway. You're gonna let time be that way.
You need to take care of these kids.
That's right. No,
so those are just some of the things that that you know were difficult for me upon release. Another was just the fact that I've been in a prison where the population is more than 6,000 men incarcerated in one space together. There's 2,500 men that make up, you know, the walk where I live, the tier where I live on. On my tier, there's over 500 dudes that live in that one pod. And then in the dormitory setting where I live, there are more than 100 men that share my berthing or my bed space. And with that being said, we also share between 100 men. We share 2 telephones. We share 1 TV. We share 1 kiosk machine. We share 6 urinals, 4 toilets, 2 sinks, 4 showers. And you can imagine the confusion, and 1 coffee pot. Can you imagine the confusion that exists when 100 men, most of whom who've been sentenced or sanctioned to a life in prison, get in a setting like that? Man, this is like a powder keg. It's just any moment that it's going to blow. And you again, like I said, can't live through those moments and not come home impacted. When I came home from that situation, my wife was ready to, you know, jump in the showers together. She was ready to hug up at night in the bed and all that. I'm like, hold up, man, somebody might shank me while you got me held up right here. Hold up. I need some freedom. I didn't want to shower with someone else. I wanted to shower by myself because I've been showering with other dudes the last 2 decades. You know, you splashing soap and all that other kind of stuff. You know, you can't avoid it. I wanted to close the door when I was in the restroom because I could, you know, other than that, I was, you know, in a situation where I was told to leave, you know, there were no doors because people need to be able to see because I need to make sure you're still here. And, you know, just all of those things, intimacy. We had to figure out how many times was a married couple supposed to be having sex with each other once you were married. And that bothered me, you know, that messed with my ego a little bit. You know, I always consider myself, you know, at least above average, you know, in these matters, right?
Right.
I mean, 6 sons do say something.
Right,
you know?
right.
But in that moment, though, I was like, okay, well, they got these new gadgets. Let me Google how many times do people actually have sex when they marry? And I felt relieved afterwards. I was like, okay, shit, I'm holding my own up in here. Than the average American. And boy, I've lapped the Asians over there because they barely getting it in. So, but it's just all of those kind of things that that we had to figure out how to overcome. After long suffering.
Tell us real quick about your kids, and then you take us out from there. But what about the children? How are the children?
The children are masterpieces. They're absolutely amazing. Eldest son, Malik, is a sommelier. Our second oldest son, Remington, is a orthodontist here in New Orleans. The third oldest son, Lawrence, was one of the first to get married and is traveling abroad with his wife after serving a tour of duty in the Army. Our twin boys, Freedom and Justice. Freedom works in Congress as a senior staffer with one of our congressmen. Justice has finished a tour of duty in the Army and is also living abroad. And our baby boy, Robert Jr., is a second-year college student at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago on a scholarship for photography and journalism. So we just can't say enough about how well our children are doing. Our family's motto during that journey was success is the best revenge. And how do we make them pay for what the harm not only that we caused, but the harm that the state added to what we caused. How can we get back? And to get back, we just succeed anyhow when it was intentional about us not succeeding. And so all of that being said, we are excited to be able to invite the TMI family to join us as we launch the sequel to our Oscar-nominated documentary, Time to Unfinished Business, which is my directorial debut. We will be streaming live here in New Orleans and across the nation through a national watch party as we are encouraging our sisters and brothers to put freedom at the forefront of Juneteenth, this Juneteenth. And let's talk about freedom. So I do hope that you all will consider coming down and being a part of this amazing opportunity. Yeah, we are aiming to get 1 million people watching and talking about freedom this Juneteenth.
Wow. That's amazing. So I just want this is 2 questions I want to ask. So we know what the whole theme was behind Time One. It was chronicalizing your marriage, chronicalizing everything that happened, and then showing how Rob came home and how you all of the trials and tribulations that you went through. Is more of, I would like to say, it's not a story of just freedom. It's a story of perseverance, right? And love and perseverance, and it really shows that. So what are we looking at when we look at Time Two? What is the theme? What is the whole idea about it?
If Time One was the cry, then Time Two is the call to action. As the theme of the entire movie is to be free, is to free others. We are excited to be able to show people freedom unfolding on multiple occasions in the great state of Louisiana, which is the worst incarcerator in the world. We are hopeful that people will be inspired and see that they too can go back into the belly of this beast and reclaim their loved ones. Just because somebody has been excessively sentenced doesn't mean that they have to stay that way. And so we are just hopeful that people will see the power that family and community together, we can achieve anything we set our minds to.
I want to ask one more question before I finish. At any time did you doubt that y'all would have this moment? And any time during that year when you were sentenced 61 years and you was fighting, and I know there was ups and downs and there was no's, and for 21 years you went through that. At any time did y'all say, you know what, I'm giving up?
No was not an option. And that's how we have to be about our freedom here in this country. We have to clearly understand that no is not an option. Us conceding to the state sanctions for our family was not an option for us.
And then if you look at the fact that for those that have had an opportunity to watch Time, the original, if you notice that when I exited the prison, I had a T-shirt on that says "Never Give Up." And Mysonne, I know first and foremost, they don't make them kind of T-shirts in prison. No, I made that T-shirt 10 years prior when I was taking a graphic arts and communications class. We were tasked with with an assignment to create a campaign. And so I thought to create a campaign through T-shirts by putting the words "never give up" onto the front of those t-shirts, and felt that if I could put people inside of those t-shirts, as I was able to do inside of the prison, then it was a way of telling all the men that when we approach one another or when we saw one another, that we were reminding each other that we could never give up, despite the situation that was ahead of us. We owed it to our ancestors to not give up on them, and to not give up on ourselves. We call time 2 unfinished business because it was some personal business that was there to us, because our nephew continued to be incarcerated after I got out. But truth of the matter is that there's more than 400 years of unfinished business when it comes to the fight that our ancestors started many, many years ago. So as long as the 13th Amendment still has an exception clause that allows a gateway into or back into slavery through one's mistakes, or through your error in judgment, through your transgressions, then that business is unfinished. And that is what we're endeavoring this Juneteenth, is to not talk about freedom in the way that we traditionally talk about it, in the rear, how we talk about what happened 300 years ago, 200, 100 years ago, or whatever. We're talking about the what's happening now in this moment in time, with them 2.3 million people that are still languishing away in systems all across this country. So we want to bring that conversation back to the forefront and keep it at the forefront until we're able to have that exception move. That's not to say that we get rid of prisons. I believe people that should be punished. Do me wrong, and yeah, there is a sanction that come with it. But at the same time, the sanction should be fundamentally fair. And I just think that the system has gotten a way that it sidesteps fundamental fairness and issues out sentences and sanctions that are reflective of what we've seen for hundreds of years now.
Amen.
Wow.
So time 2. The Time 2 campaign is us. A Time 2 watch campaign is us watching it on Juneteenth together.
Yes.
So that's
and
what we want
having
to
a
do.
conversation about freedom with the toolkit that you will be provided. And Tamika, I think you all will love this, my TMA podcast family. Not only do you get the film that you will own, it will be yours, not a rental. But in addition to that, in this freedom toolkit, you will receive a copy of the public law that made Juneteenth a federal holiday. And you will get a copy of the Emancipation Proclamation, because we as Black people, we need both of those posted up on our walls in our homes next to the picture of the Lord's Supper.
We're going to host a screening on
definitely.
Juneteenth. So we will be hosting a screening. We are on the State of the People Power Tour, which Juneteenth is going to be something very special. But that evening, what time does it come on at?
I think it's going to be by 6:30. We'll have all of the definitives this week.
Okay,
That's
so we'll figure it out.
Yes.
And as a part of what we're doing, Until Freedom, our organization will host a screening for you all. I'm impressed.
I love
it. And it takes a lot to impress me. But I see 2 extremely powerful people. We've all been through a lot in our lives. My son, he has a story that is very painful, and he's gone through a lot, but and I have a book out about all the stuff and the bad decisions I made, from picking up pills and becoming addicted to, a lot of things that happened to me because of bad decisions. But I know for sure, and I felt it. If I could taste it, it would have filled me. To know that when God met me in rehab, He was not there to rebuke me, but instead to say that every single thing you've been through is for the purpose of what I need you to go and do now. And I am committed to using the challenges that I faced and the things I put myself in. I can't sit here and say it was Johnny and Bobby. Yeah, there's some people who were responsible for breaking my heart and making me feel like I was vulnerable and all of that. That's true. But I still made decisions that ended up really crippling me and put me in a bad space. And I've made the commitment to God that I know there are other people who are numbing with pills right now, or drinking alcohol, trying to numb some of their past issues and current issues. I know there are people who are shopping or having promiscuous sexual moments and all of that, trying to cover up things that they don't want the world to see. And it is my commitment to God that he bought me out, and I promised that I would use my platform to do the same. So as I'm listening to you all, it has given me renewed spirit to go back and do the work that I need to do, the work that I know God has called me to do. The movement is important, and they're not separated. It's all together. But he gave me the movement, and I've done that. I've done it for 30 years of my life, and I wasn't sure what I would do next. And now I know exactly what I'm supposed to do, and that is to deal with disparities around addiction and how people get help. And it is also to say to folks, yes, I was addicted. It was me. You see me? I'm cute. I'm fixed up. I got, nice clothes. But behind the scenes, I was taking between 20 to 30 pills a day. So if I could tell my story, you could tell yours. And we can get healed together. So there's that. It's a testimony. I've been on TED Talk all day today,
this lady, she on fire today. It's a fire.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining us.
No, thank
y'all for having us.
And when you get to New Orleans, our favorite restaurant is on us.
Oh, okay. Yes. Oh, that's right. Teach us some more.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
My son, holla at your boy, man.
I got you, King. Be safe, man.
Talk to you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all take care.
Keep going. Right.
That was such an amazing interview. Like, just their story, just listening to them, just the way they're in unison, the way they're just highly intelligent, and it's just dope. Just watching
their
them.
experience. Oh man.
Yeah, watching Time One gave me like a glimpse of their life, and then just having that interview with them was just was the icing on the cake.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, some people take what was meant for bad for good, and just knowing that you have these two very powerful, very intellectual, very socially conscious, super black folks out here in the world, it makes me feel like, one of these days we may be in a better place. And I'm glad that they're in Louisiana, which is a state that really has significant racial issues in terms of disparities within all types of industries, but clearly incarceration, and to have them there working to help people get freed or to get their records expunged and all of that is really important as well. And again, just knowing that they are socially conscious and they have a racial lens for their work, because a lot of times even black people will be like, well, we don't, we're not, this is not about race. This is, and not to say that they won't work with people that are not black, but they still understand the challenges that we as black people have. And she's out here quoting Asada Shakur, you know what I'm saying? We have nothing to lose but our chains, so we have to do the work. We at least have to try. So I love Robin Fox.
Yes.
I'm definitely committed, as you are, to our Juneteenth event, a screening of their show. And it will be on the same day of, hopefully it happens. I'm hoping we're on this tour, the State of the People Power Tour, which has been an incredible gathering of black folks, organized black folks across the country. And Juneteenth, we're supposed to have a special day, and hopefully what will be in the evening will be this particular screening. So we're working on it.
Yes.
Woo! The state the State of the People Power Tour is a power tour. For real. It's powering through my spirit every single day.
It is definitely powering through my spirit.
We should absolutely make sure to have some clips included in this show and subsequent shows to give people an understanding of what has happened from Atlanta to North Carolina and then to New Orleans. And now we're going towards Alabama. Certainly, I can't forget Alabama, one of the most incredible gatherings. And then we're now headed to Newark, New Jersey.
Newark. It's my home. My second home, Newark.
Yeah, it surely is.
Definitely my second home. Now that brings me to my I don't get it. Now I hate to keep talking about Trump, but like the ignorance, the level of ignorance makes me feel like I'm ignorant sometimes, right? You ever just pay attention? No, for real, because you say it gotta be me. Like you say to yourself, am I really crazy? Like, am I really seeing what I'm seeing, or am I blind or something? So listen, there are people online, right? That constantly, people I know constantly try to make it seem as if Kamala Harris is ignorant, right? I see the post.
Do they say she's ignorant or not intelligent?
No, they make low IQ, not intelligent, whatever you want to call it, I seen a post where they had a picture of her and said, "We dodged a bullet," right? And she said something, I don't remember exactly what it was. She said there was elephants. They took a little clip and she was like, "Did y'all see the viral clip of the elephants when there was a earthquake?" And then they cut it off and said, "Oh, we dodged a bullet. She's so dumb," and this and that. I'm asking this because maybe I'm crazy. Do y'all actually believe that Donald Trump is more intelligent than Kamala Harris? Is this something that when we look and you listen to both of them speak and you just hear the third grade vernacular, vocabulary that Trump has, I have never heard him say something that a fifth grader couldn't understand. I've never. And then I heard him today talking about Jasmine Crockett.
A fifth grader couldn't understand.
Yeah. Okay. He said nothing. Anybody with a fifth grade education can understand what he said. There's nothing intelligent about Donald Trump. So I'm so confused do people really believe that? And he was talking about Jasmine Crockett, I was about to say, saying that she has a low IQ. And I'm just really saying to myself, is this like a game? Is it like reverse psychology that if you say something long enough, right? If you so dumb that if you tell people you smart, they start to believe that you're smart. And I think that's what's happened. Like when they say this cult shit with Trump, it's really like a cult to me because there's nobody that's listening to Trump. They asked him about the Constitution, right? And the Declaration of Independence. And they asked him questions. He doesn't even know what the fuck they are. He believes it's a document. It's a good document, it's for freedom. He has no idea about the things that actually govern this nation. He has no idea about anything. So when I'm listening to people have these conversations and people make it seem like these intelligent black women are less educated, intelligent than this man, it's like the weirdest shit I've ever seen. It really shocks me. Like,
well, I guess my response is, I'm really thinking about it, but what I can say is that there are some people who will feel like just because you use big words that a fifth grader might not be able to understand, it doesn't make you more intelligent. It just might mean that you know more words.
Okay, but even more educated, right? When you say somebody's low IQ, the education at 78 years old, right? I don't even think that the man has the IQ or the education of a 10th grader. Like for real, when I'm listening to him, sometimes I be confused that is this really?
Well, we live in the era of trolling, right? And a lot of the people, they also know big words because I see a lot of people on social media that know how to use all kinds of big words and write 15-page paragraphs. And still, when you really listen to what they're saying on a very basic level, it's pretty ignorant. It's pretty stupid, right? And so I think that folks are looking also, what people like to look at is how much money you've made and how much success you have had and what you were able to accomplish, where you were able to get. And
money does not have anything to do with intellect and education.
Well, but I know, but I'm just telling you, in a lot of people's minds, the mere fact that you were able to accomplish these big things like having hotels and golf courses and becoming president twice and all of that to them is that's what implies education level or a level of brilliance or intelligence. They don't understand that a lot of these people, especially white folks, white men who have been able to accomplish these great goals, that when you look into the background, because this is what the man was sued for in New York State alone, stealing, mistreating other communities in order to pretty much scamming, and harming people, being racist, in order to grow the ladder and get to whatever it is that they're trying to do. They did not necessarily take the difficult route that requires you to know some stuff and learn some things and also consider other people's rights and feelings. And so there are a lot of people that'll never agree with you, because when they look at him, they see success, and you over there telling them that.
But success and education is two different things. There are a lot of successful people that's not educated, right?
Right. So you're saying, I think I understand what you're saying, that in those situations, you would see a person say, I don't know all of this stuff. I made it from hard work and whatever, but I know my sister is much more educated than me, and that's why I rely on her for whatever, or my friend, or I always keep people around me who are smarter than me or whatever. So they are making it clear that they know that they're not as educated. They would never try to down somebody who actually is.
It's just, for me, when you talk about IQ level, right? When you talk about education level, when those things are visible, right? When I'm having a basic conversation, you might be somebody who just has common sense. It's a lot of people that have good common sense. They're not the most, we think about
book smart.
They're not book smart, right? You think about our grandparents and all that. My grandmother didn't go to school, but she had common sense. She had very good common sense. But when you talk to her, you knew she wasn't highly educated, right? But she knew how to give you basic things. She would say shit that when you thought about it, damn, that made sense. Donald Trump don't even have that, right? When I'm listening to the shit he says, he talk about the art of the deal. Nobody thinks that they don't need allies, right? As if the president of America, right? You're not gonna go to war with everybody else and isolate yourself. I mean, that's just not even common sense. You're not gonna keep lying, saying that you're making deals that you're not. You're not gonna tell us that you're gonna stop a war that you know you have no. They playing you.
But he knows that he has a lot of people. He said his sweet spot is the uneducated.
Yeah, he loves the poorly educated. But I understand that. So, my thing is, the poorly educated got to stop acting like they educated, because you can't look at somebody educated, and because when you look at just the resume of both of them, when we talk about education, there's not even a comparison, right? This lady has ran the top government offices. She's went through the ranks of places,
local district attorney,
graduating the bars, and these are things these are things that require education. They require intelligence. Donald Trump has done none of those things, right? So when we have these conversations and you compare it on an education level and intellect level, it's to me, it's mind-boggling that there are people that have, now you don't like her, you think she laughed too much, you think she's not on, whatever it is you want to say, cool. I'm okay with that. That's your personal opinion. But when we talk about, you can have your own opinions. You can't have your own facts. Men lie, numbers lie. I mean, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie. And the numbers, right? When we look at the numbers, when we look at Jasmine Crockett's jacket, and we look at her education level, and we just listen to her when she is delivering a message, right? You understand that this is an educated woman. When I'm watching the president inside the White House and the words he says, and it's damn, man, is this really the president of the United States?
Well, they say you got to try something different.
And I'm not.
So I think people feel like they tried something different. But listen to me. But
I'm not saying you made a decision, but you didn't vote that man in because he's educated and he's highly intelligent. You decided that you just going with whatever you want. You feel like he's honest to a fault. You say he's gonna say the shit nobody else says is raw. It's cool. I understand. That's what you voted for. But we can't keep doing this intelligence shit. Because now you insulting my intelligence by trying to make me believe that this man is more intelligent than this woman, and it's insulting to somebody.
Maybe they don't know how to express that what they mean is he's just better than her.
But you like her, but there's nothing. when you say better,
I'm saying that's what these people are saying. I already know that
listen,
we are in the shit show. As
y'all
you
got
said.
y'all president, right? And it's cool. But you're not going to keep insulting these people's intelligence when you comparing them to somebody who has the intellect of a 3rd and 4th grader. We just not going to keep doing it. I'm just not. I can have any discussion you want. You think he's a businessman. You think he does this. Cool. That's your opinion. I disagree, but cool. But it's not an opinion that this person is educated. That's not even an opinion for me. I just don't need y'all to insult my intelligence by trying to make me think that man is intelligent and these women are. I draw the line there. Like, that's where I draw the line, because you can't just play in my face like that. You can't tell me, you can't piss. My mama used to say, you ain't gonna be able to piss on me and tell me it's raining. And that's what they trying to do.
Okay. Aye, Captain.
And with that, we come to the end of another episode of TMI. We appreciate y'all. Tamika, what you got to say?
What am I supposed to say?
Do you have something to say? Do you
I have
something?
nothing.
Give me
to
a good
say.
closing, something strong.
Please.
You ain't got nothing to close it with, like a good word? Mm-hmm. Come on, something. Mm-mm. Give me a strong word. You said words?
Already.
Well, we appreciate y'all. Make sure you continue to follow us at TMI_show and at TMI Show PC on YouTube. We appreciate y'all. Let us know if you love us. Let us know you hate us. We continue to be the #1 show in the world. TMI, truth, motivation, and inspiration. I'm not going to always be right. Tamika D. Mallory's not going to always be wrong, but we will both always, and I mean always, be authentic.
Peace.
Salute.
That's how we own it.